Hello! Oh my god, that's loud. Hello! And welcome back to the SpoilerCast, the podcast where we talk about movies, new and old, and we don't care about spoiling them because it's in the name. It's the SpoilerCast. My name is Tobias. You've probably seen me. I am the host. You've probably seen me from my super popular Doom memes. And probably nothing else. And with me, as always, is my sister and trusty co-host, Rebecca.
Hello.
Hello. And this is our first episode for 2021. We took a few weeks off during the winter holidays, but now we're back. We're talking about movies. And since 2020 was such a terrible year, with quarantines and rioting and social injustices and just a terrible year in general. Everyone was so stoked for 2021 to come around, and it's been 2 weeks and it's not really been any different.
No, not yet. I mean, we should probably let the year have like a slow start.
Of course. Nothing it wasn't just going to change like that.
In the tunnel. The vaccine is out.
The vaccine is out. It's getting distributed. I saw President-elect Joe Biden was getting his first or second inoculation.
Yeah.
So
another kind of person has been impeached twice, so he's
yeah.
not gonna come back.
Well, did they actually impeach him yet? I know they were talking about it.
No, I think it was final eventually.
Listen. I'm no fan of the guy. No, we're gonna start off. This is the news segment. I'm definitely not a fan of the guy. I thought it was funny that he was the president in the beginning.
It was kind of funny.
Because I was, especially back then, I was a massive troll. Still am, but not as big. So I thought it was so much fun. Everyone was just crying about it. But as time went on, it was just the joke kind of died, and especially during 2020, it was I don't like him. But honestly, I gotta say, like, impeaching him now. I mean, they impeached him the day of his success, him seceding the position. So, like, you already won. Why even impeach him?
There's a reason, because if you've been impeached, you can't run for president again.
Right. Okay. So but he already said he wouldn't. He already said probably because of the impeachment stuff, but he said he's not going to run for 2024. Like,
I think this is just to make sure.
Yeah, I guess.
He's not even eligible to do it, so.
Yeah. I just thought it was funny, like, oh, he finally seceded. Impeach! Like, come on, you won! Give up! You won! Well, anyway.
And maybe it's a bit of a in your face because of all the shit that happened around there as well. They're like, okay, well, now you really have to be impeached. Let's just really put you out of the way. Yeah,
I suppose. I mean, I don't really care. It's over. It was a partly fun experiment, but let's get back to,
reality.
Someone else. Yeah, exactly. Hopefully. Well,
we'll see.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of faith in Biden either, but I mean, I haven't had faith in a president in many years.
Nah.
But anyways.
Not that we're that affected is a better word, since we're in a different country, but it slightly.
Still does. Yeah, it still does. Anyway.
You know, we already have a comment.
Oh. Well, yeah, I saw that.
Hi.
Yes, to everyone listening to this on anywhere you listen to podcasts, of course, we're on Stitcher, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Podbean. Where you'll occasionally hear us talking about comments. That's because we are live streaming the podcast on YouTube. But if you want to listen to us on your own schedule, of course, check us out on all those other platforms.
Or YouTube in retrospect.
Yeah, of course.
It's gonna be there still.
But yeah, we got some people in here. That's fun. Welcome to the stream, and we're gonna start talking about movies now. Sorry.
So to start off this year.
Yes, to start off this year. I want to see if and I want to see if you realize why, because I got the idea that we should talk about Night of the Living Dead, or really the entire Living Dead trilogy, not the entire franchise, because there's so many terrible Dead movies, but at least the first three. So Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, and Day of the Dead.
So we're starting with the Night because
this was the first one. Came out in
69,
sometime 68. Yes, I want it to be like it came out October 24th, 1968, but I don't know.
No, but October 4th. So you were
Oh,
close.
okay. I knew it was October. Okay, I have so much
At least in
useless
America.
information in my brain. Um, yes, but okay. So, and you probably had seen it before because I watched it a lot when I was a kid
Yeah, you
or
probably showed
younger.
me
Yeah.
this one as well, but I honestly did not remember a single thing.
Okay. Yeah.
So I
Um.
rewatched it today.
So I guess but
In
you can
a
say this was
couple,
your first proper time watching it.
yeah, because
Yeah.
I mean, even if you showed me it when I was younger, I this is not one of those movies that I would have remembered much about.
Yeah. Yeah.
At least not back then. Now maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. So I gotta ask you. Um. Uh, do you see why I picked it?
Maybe.
It would
I don't
become.
want to sound stupid, but there are two reasons I might think of.
I think it's going
I'm
to
not.
become more evident as we progress,
Yeah,
especially when we get to well, there's only three movies. I was going to say towards the end of Dawn, but yeah. Um, well, yeah, it's because the movie is literally about a pandemic.
yeah.
In
That
this
that was one
case,
of them.
yeah, in this case, it's a zombie pandemic, but um, I mean there are definite similarities. I mean
Sure.
a
Yeah.
virus is a virus and people die, but for different reasons. But you know,
Well, they kind of not. They kind of said it wasn't a virus in this one.
no, it's vague what it actually is.
Yeah, they're kind of hinting that it could be some sort of radiation.
Yes, and that was actually the original idea from what was his name? The co-writer John Russo, I think his name was.
Yeah,
Who
John
co
A. Russo.
yeah, who co-wrote it with George A. Romero. His first idea to make a horror movie because they were actually a like advertising company. They made TV ads
Oh yeah, that's true.
and like industrial videos, like instructional videos and stuff.
Mhm.
His initial idea when they said, "Oh, we got to make it. We should make a movie. Let's make a horror movie because we like horror movies and it's easy to distribute." Their first idea that Russo had was to make an alien invasion movie, basically.
So
Um,
they kind of went with that plot, but changed the monsters to
yeah, and I'm not exactly sure why. Probably because of budgetary reasons. Because
yeah,
aliens have
zombies
to
are
look
weird.
very alien, and zombies just have to look like humans, but with like a wound in the forehead or whatever.
Barely even that. Just make them dirty.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's why they still kept the that short interview they make in Washington D. Well, they actually shot it in Washington D.C. I was going to do Washington, but it was Washington. Where they talk about the probe from Venus that they had to explode in the atmosphere because it was carrying high levels
Yeah,
of radiation. So that is the official explanation. Like it brought back something from space. It is a space virus. However, and this is I guess a spoiler for Dawn and Day, they don't mention that in the other movies because I think Romero wanted to focus more on like the outcome of the virus instead of what the
yeah,
virus actually was. You know.
yeah. I cheated a bit and watched a couple of other YouTubers. I didn't know any of them, but that was the. There weren't a lot of videos on Night of the Living Dead of people commenting or
I know
reacting or anything.
I know of one really good YouTuber made a video about it last year actually. He's called Please Don't Make a Scene. Right, right,
Ow!
right.
Well, ah,
I made it for
apart
my.
from you.
Yeah, sorry, I made it for my Halloween, whatever I
Yeah,
called it,
I,
childhood memories videos
yeah.
from last year. Yeah. Anyway,
No,
yeah,
but I was trying to find just to get like some other inputs and something else to talk about, I guess, or like add to my experience.
yeah,
And one of them, I don't remember who. I saw like three. Don't remember any of the names of them. Sorry, whoever you are. Um, one of them mentioned that in an interview, George Romero had said that he didn't really know what the origin of this sickness was. He just
yeah.
kind of went with
That
it.
that's like his official stance now. If
Yeah.
not stand, but, you know.
Well, not now, because didn't he die
Oh
like
yeah he died a few
2 years
years ago.
ago?
20.
17, I want to say, but I'm not sure.
I think it was 2017 or what or
Yeah, 17.
it was
July.
2017. Oh, was that the same year as Toby Hooper?
I do not know. Who the
Huh.
hell is Toby Hooper?
Toby made Texas Chainsaw Massacre, another very very influential horror movie from the not the same decade but
Is
the
it
same
with
time.
the 2 8 also two something?
Huh?
How is he spelled?
Tobehoper. Toby Hooper.
E.
Um,
Nice.
Martin here in the chat asked, "Did you watch the regular version or the weird anniversary edition with the new
Oh no
scenes?"
no, the regular version.
Yes. That's funny. There are a
Just
lot.
just
There are a lot of
answering your
different.
question. Hooper did die in 17 as well.
That was okay.
Yeah.
That's why I actually I gotta say I kind of forgot about Romero dying. I knew he died, but I didn't. Um, uh,
You didn't
ma- ma-
register it.
no, I
Like
didn't register it
register
because
it.
I'm
That's the
I'm
word.
I'm more of a Hooper fan, so I think that took over that year. Anyway,
Yeah, we watched
yeah,
the original
we
version.
both saw the original, and it's kind of funny because the movie is there's like it's a matter of like public record. There's no like
Yeah,
one owner of the material,
I
and
actually
that's
looked that up. Do you know
yeah.
why?
I don't remember exactly why.
They made
It
a
has something to
mistake.
do with when they were publishing it or was going
Yeah,
to publish it.
they made a mistake in the title card.
Oh, really?
They didn't put any what's it called? Any like
TM
yeah, or
or
something
like
like that.
the copyright logo.
Yeah. So it's always been public domain.
Yeah, yeah, which is kind of fun. Where I mean, it's both a gift and a curse because then
Yeah.
anyone can make their own version of Night of the Living Dead and use this very good.
And publish it almost anywhere, I guess.
Yeah, of course. That's what you have. I
Which
know.
explains
Yes, so
what
we're gonna
Bug
get to
was
that. Because I know back in like 2015 or something, they had a puppet version of the movie, or it was a puppet stage play. Very local in Wisconsin. I only know this because I'm a fan of Red Letter Media. Um, I know I think there's been a musical made about it. There's been at least 2 remakes and a prequel to one remake.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like Martin says here, that's why you can find it in like every like 50 greatest horror movie collections
Yeah.
where
Because they add anything you want.
yeah, they just grab any movie that is what was it called? What's the word?
Public domain?
Public domain. Thank you. Public domain. So like the Beast of Yucca Flats, I know is one of my favorites just because of the title. Or like the one with the giant leeches or whatever it is. And then of course, yeah, Night of the Living Dead. So they shovel that in there with all the Crowther crap, even though this isn't crap. And that's also, like I said, like we said, that's why there is a 30th anniversary edition where John A. Russo, who felt like, man, I should have made some more money off of the movie because it didn't make that much money off it initially. I mean, obviously later they've made money and they've become famous of it, or off of it. But he wanted to make some more money, and that's why he shot new scenes in 1998 on like a consumer grade like DV camera, like not an expensive camera at all, like stuff you and I could have owned, like
Oh god.
maybe a little more expensive, but
Your old digital camera kind of? But like
almost
older,
a little better maybe, but almost.
yeah.
And he wanted to splice that into to the original and even have some of the original actors, even though they're 30 years older.
Yeah.
So you know the first zombie we see in the graveyard who attacks Barbara, they brought
Yeah.
that guy back to show him actually waking up from his grave. And it's the same guy, but he's 30 years older, so he's a little bigger. He's obviously more. His face is sagging because he's like 60 instead of 30, and it just doesn't look like the same guy.
No shit.
That's kind of funny though because I bring that up in my video, and those are actually the scenes that scared me the most, or the scenes that made me remember the movie when I was a kid, because that was the first version I saw with Martin, who's here in the chat.
Yeah, you mentioned that in the video.
Yeah. But let's talk about the actual movie here for a while. Because yeah, so this was your first time really watching it.
Yes.
did you have any conception of it before? Like any opinion, like at all about it? Not really.
Not really. First of all, I didn't remember anything of it, and I mean, I I rarely remember black and white movies, to be honest. So
Yeah,
if I would have remembered anything, it would probably not be like anything substantial.
yeah. But now having watched it, watching it a little more analytical,
Hmm.
what is your opinion of the movie?
For considering when it's done and the budget, because it didn't have a lot of budget, did it?
No, not that much. I mean, it wasn't like a super low budget, but it was low budget.
Yeah. Um, it's a good zombie movie, I guess.
Yeah, I
I mean,
mean,
I'm used to the modern zombies and the modern horror in general, so for me, it wasn't scary. I actually laughed a couple of times.
yeah, that's fair. I mean,
But it did give me thoughts of some, like I thought of some things that actually are relevant even today, not just considering we have a pandemic, but like the idea of the main like hero being a black guy in the 60s,
yeah,
first of all, and then
that
in
was a
general
big
in
deal.
horror movie.
Yeah,
'Cause you don't have a lot of horror movies with black people in the lead,
no,
or like being the hero
there's that.
specifically.
There's definitely been an uprising at the last few years, but yeah, for the longest time, it wasn't really a thing.
I mean, you still have that trope of the black person dying first in horror movies,
Yeah,
which this totally did not do, and this is one of the first like proper horror movies.
yeah, yeah. This is
That was um, that was interesting, to be honest.
yeah, and what's kind of funny with that is that that's like one of the defining like aspects of the movie. Like, oh my god, it was so progressive and it had a black man, in the like, I don't know if this was during the riots or just a few years after the riots in Chicago and everything. You know those
Oh yeah,
all those videos where they're yeah, we're doing terrible things to black people.
yeah, yeah.
um, eh,
But it also cost. Continuing that, it had the end scenes had a big impact as well because of him being black.
yeah, because yeah.
I mean,
Because
it's
how
a
they
spoiler,
handle his corpse. The
but
spoilers, yeah,
not
they
just
shoot him in
that
the end.
corpse. The fact that they don't even consider checking if he is alive or dead.
No, yeah, they just think, oh, there's another zombie. Let's shoot him.
Movement.
Yeah,
I mean, you don't even see him holding a gun. I guess they don't
no,
even like look, but they don't actually look at the other ones either. You do see him shoot a couple of zombies in the back from way far behind them, so they don't check them either.
no, that's
But
true.
they're more obvious that they are zombies because, well, they're walking weirdly in a field openly. They're not reacting to sounds behind them really.
Yeah,
While he is moving slowly towards a window with a gun in his hand, they should have reacted, I guess.
but it is.
Yeah, I don't know if that was purposefully.
That's a thing. It wasn't.
It was.
It wasn't. The character of Ben was not written with anyone in like in mind. It wasn't like, oh, we're gonna write a black character, or no, it should be a white character. Uh,
He
it
just wrote a character.
They just wrote a character, and he was the best at the auditions. I think he had done like some stage stuff before, because I don't think he had a lot of like movie credits after or before this. Not a lot, maybe some. Um,
Actually, had no movie credits before Night of the Living Dead.
yeah, exactly.
Not according to IMDb, at least.
Yeah. And George R. Romero, I was like unintentionally progressive, which I guess nowadays is a bad thing. Like if you're unintentionally progressive, that's like, oh my gosh, you weren't thinking about it. No, I just did a good thing, didn't I? Anyway,
Yeah.
but that back then it was just like he's the best guy, obviously the best actor, and it didn't like phase Romero or Russo or any of the other people that he was a black person. He's done very few interviews. I have heard one from like the 80s, just a few years before he died. Um, on the Criterion collection of Night of the Living Dead, and while he was definitely more like what do you want to call politically active, and he recognized, huh?
Scenario. Who is he?
The actor who plays Ben. I
The
don't
actor. Okay, yeah, okay.
actually remember his name right now.
Dwayne Jones.
Right. Um, he the only thing he had to say about it in the interview was that like it wasn't a race. His race was not an issue for anyone involved. They were just making a movie, which is was so nice to hear, especially from a movie made in the '60s.
Yeah.
So it's kind of unintentionally created a milestone in the horror movie genre, and that's also like why the ending feels more impactful, because you see how they handle his body, and he gets coupled in with the zombies and burned in big piles of dead people. And it's reminiscent of the scenes from the riots, the race riots earlier in that decade. Mm-hmm. But for Romero, it's just like it was just a way to show like the indifference to like killing in general. He wasn't doing it from a like racial perspective at all, which he has like said several times. Like I didn't know. That's nice that people got that out of it, but it was not my intention. I just made a movie. That's literally. I watched a documentary that came out like 10 years ago, I think, where they talked to some of the actors and Romero, and they all agreed that all they wanted to do was make a horror movie. They wanted to make an exciting horror, but they had no agenda with it. They had no like, we want to depict this, the injustices of blah blah blah. No, they just wanted to make a horror movie. Then it happened because of when it came out, and because it was so effective in scaring people, and because of the accidental casting of a black man, it became this milestone, which I think is very interesting.
That's what one of the YouTubers I watched mentioned a lot, actually. He angled the movie and the characters' reactions to certain things as if they were intentionally reacting that way because he was black. But I could always like kind of dispute that, because a lot of people's reactions in the movie is simply because of the situation they're in. I don't think they would have reacted differently if the person they were talking to or in this situation with would have been white.
Yeah, I mean,
someone mentioned that like Harry Cooper, the father of the only kid in the movie, that he reacts certain ways because he's racist, because he doesn't want like the girl, what's her name, Barbara, to be alone with a black guy in a room. Like, well, I don't think that's the problem. I think he's just being very paranoid and scared in general. I don't think he cares that the dude is black. He's just like, fuck this.
And it's obvious that he Harry Cooper would be the character to say like, I don't trust black people, or the N-word or whatever. But that's never why he doesn't trust them. He doesn't trust them partly because he's an insecure character to begin with, obviously. Like, because he just does not want to admit when he is at fault. And it also comes from a partially good place, because he wants to protect his family, but he takes it too far, and instead becomes like overly possessive. He wants the gun. He won't let anyone go into the cellar after he closes it. Like, why not just open it up if it has to be opened up? And he doesn't want to cooperate. But the question of race never comes up. It is just a question of leadership. He's just as dismissive towards Barbara and Tom, and I guess Judy didn't really interact much.
I mean, it's more obvious because Ben is like you said, a leader character. He takes charge.
Yeah, he takes charge. Yeah.
So of course, this makes Harry Cooper more insecure and more defensive against him.
Yeah.
Towards him.
But it's never like, I don't trust those people.
No.
The dialogue is never that.
A modern interpretation.
Oh, definitely. And I mean, that was probably, I haven't read any like reviews from back then, because they're not really around. You could probably find them, but even back then, people probably saw it that way because of racial tensions back then.
Yeah.
But ultimately, that's not what they were setting out to do. They just cast him because he was the best actor for the job.
Yeah.
So, and that is
And I
very
both
nice.
like it. I mean, I like it for that reason, and I did see it that way at first because I did see like the first. I don't know. I saw a bit through it before I had to work today, and then I was like, shit, I can't focus while I'm working.
Yeah, yeah,
So I had to stop it, and then I watched few random YouTube videos while I was working because that's easier to focus on, or not to have to focus on, I guess, than a mostly silent movie.
yeah.
So that's when I got those inputs, and then when I watched it again today properly, I was like, yeah, maybe that could be, but I wouldn't say that's what they're trying to do. Like,
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
think they're intentionally doing
It's
any racial anything.
commentary. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like Bob Ross says. It's a happy accident.
yeah,
Yeah. Um, no, what they're more focused on really is the minutia of surviving a zombie invasion or a zombie attack. That's why
yeah,
we have several scenes of just people putting up boards over windows and looking for nails, and the long sequence where they try to fill up the truck with gas. And it's interesting that we don't really get a lot of character development. Like, there's a
really,
little bit with Barbara, a little bit with Ben, maybe through like expository dialogue, but we mostly get to know the characters through their actions.
yeah.
Um, and
I
even
mean, we only get to know who they are as characters, not like the history of them or
oh yeah,
their family
exactly,
tree,
exactly.
like you do get in some movies when they're like, "Oh my." Well, Barbara has her brother, but apart from that, no one else mentions anyone else from the outside world, really. Well, yeah, the other girl, what's her name?
Judy.
Yeah, she mentions like her folks.
Oh right,
Well,
yeah, but we don't
but
really
that's
get a
it.
lot because Romero was interested in how different persons would handle a situation like this. Not like how it would impact people socially, but how they would handle this situation here and now. And that's what the movie
Yeah,
is about. And that's also what I find really interesting, because I don't know if we discussed this on another podcast or in a video. Like, I, like, unironically, legitimately want to experience a zombie invasion.
I don't know if we've mentioned it in another video or anything, but we've talked about it a lot in private
Yeah, that's one of my big, like, I
throughout my
mean,
like
obviously,
entire life.
yeah, obviously, I probably wouldn't like it if it actually happened, but in my mind, it's just like, I'm so prepared.
Oh yeah,
I have a now very out of date list of stuff to do, but still, I have a list ready. I know where to go. I know what I have to do
you have
before I
a
leave.
plan.
I have a plan. um,
You know
so
that plan you had. I don't know, remember how many years ago it was when you we discussed where we would go if it happened.
yeah,
That plan works better for me now because I
well, yeah,
live
you live
close to
closer
that.
now, yeah.
Yeah, I should actually get there within an hour if I'm walking.
Yeah, that's great. No, but so and I think that like fascination with zombies and the that kind of situation, that kind of apocalyptic situation, stems from Night of the Living Dead. I mean, it was the first zombie movie I saw, and it is the first like proper zombie movie like that. I mean, there were zombie movies before, but then there were people under a spell, or there were voodoo
Yeah,
zombies, you know.
this is the first like virus zombie, I
Yeah, this is
guess.
the first one where they are the living dead. They're
Yeah,
corpses coming back to life, and it really started that whole genre, which it didn't really become like a big thing until the next movie in the series, Dawn of the Dead, because that one really blew up. Um,
yeah.
Mainly because of the success of Night, but I mean, people didn't try to copy Night of the Living Dead. Um, except
But
for
they did kind of.
except for literally copying it, but that was later. But it was
Maybe
after,
that's why though.
maybe, but it was after Dawn, like the zombie genre exploded. We want
Isn't Dawn the one when they're in the
the
mall?
shopping mall, yeah, yeah, yeah.
But that
Um,
came like 10 years later or something.
it's literally 10 years later,
Yeah.
78, and then they came 8 years after that, 86. Because there was never like a plan to make a franchise out of it. He just wanted to make different movies, and then it was like, nothing really works. I'll make another Living Dead movie, basically. I mean, he still wanted to make them, but they weren't like his big passion projects. At least not Dawn, I know. Right, yeah. So, like, we're gonna discuss that more when we talk about Dawn of the Dead in next week's episode. Check that out. Like how the zombie genre just exploded, because I own quite a few, like, well, not that many, but I own a few like Italian zombie movies, and they're all rip-offs of Dawn of the Dead. Basically, it all comes from there. Italy is really good at exploiting a popular genre, or they were at least back in the like 70s and 80s and maybe 60s, and they made a literal fuck ton of zombie movies in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
Oh, we got a question in the chat here. Is this going on Spotify? Yes. You can listen to this and not all of our episodes. Eventually, we will upload as many as possible. But for now, you can listen to the latest episodes and a few weeks back. So definitely, if you don't have the time or the will to listen to us live, definitely check us out on Spotify. Just look for SpoilerCast. Anyway, right. So Romero definitely birthed the zombie genre.
Yes, this zombie is his child.
Yeah, and some
his
have called
creation.
some have called his version of the zombie the Living Dead, like the last
Original monster or something.
yeah, the
right?
last proper like film monster, like legendary film monster, which is, I don't really agree, because the zombie is more of a concept than an actual, like, it's not a zombie that's remembered, it's zombies, you know?
Yeah, but you can say the same about like vampires and werewolves. You have
Yeah, but with vampires you have Dracula.
true, I guess.
With
You
like
have one
monsters in general you
main
have
person.
Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Yeah, and with werewolves, I guess there's not as much of a like the werewolf, but you do have the Wolfman from 38 or something, 39, with Lon Chaney Jr., which is like one of the few that people think of when you say, oh, the werewolf movie. I guess that, or An American Werewolf in London, I suppose.
Yeah, I think of American Werewolf in London.
Yeah, so those are more same with The Mummy. You either think of Boris Karloff from the 40s, or you think of Brendan Fraser in the 90s. But like zombies, there's not a specific zombie.
No, because you don't have a main character zombie. You
No,
have
exactly.
a horde of zombies always.
So I don't really consider it a movie monster like that. More like a concept or a movie genre. But I get it.
Everyone else would call it a movie monster.
Yeah, probably. I suppose.
And I agree. It is the last like proper new monster that was created for the movies. Because I mean, witches have been done, vampires have been done, werewolves have been done.
Yeah.
You had Frankenstein already. I guess when was the first Mummy movie? Was it in the 40s? You said.
I think so. I think the first Boris Karloff movie was in 1940. I think so.
I don't know. Maybe Aliens came after that, but I'm not sure. But
they're also so different. There's not one definitive alien. You have the alien from Alien, and you have the little gray men from various sci-fi movies.
Then you have E.T.
You have E.T. You have the Blob is an alien. You have a bunch of different aliens. The Thing is an alien.
They're not always as monstrous. They're more often trying to.
Yeah, they can be different things.
Intelligent level, I guess.
Something that people don't argue about when talk about the classic monsters is like Jason Voorhees or Freddy Krueger. But I guess they kind of fall into their own category, like killers or slasher killers.
They're humans. Well, zombies are
sort of. I guess Jason does become a zombie in one of the movies, but
they're still connected to their humanity.
Yes.
So they don't count as monsters; they count as villains.
Yeah, exactly.
I would say, at least.
I agree. Like if I would add one of those, I'd probably add Michael Myers, because he's the most like inhuman. Well, in ways, he's the most human and the most inhuman character. But we'll save that for a Halloween discussion sometime later this year.
Yeah, sure. Oh yeah, the
um,
Mummy from 32. Thank you,
32.
dude.
Jesus, it's that old. I thought it was younger, less old.
Newer.
Okay, 1932. Thank you. Out of the classic Universal monster movies, that's probably my least favorite. It's so boring. Anyway,
Not sure I've seen that one, to be honest.
I mean,
I mean, I haven't seen that many like old black and white movies. I've seen Nosferatu. I don't know how to say it in English. Nosferatu.
Nosferatu.
Yeah. Um, but I don't think I've seen that many other black and white movies, to be honest.
No. Oh, Jude mentioned Pumpkinhead. He he is not popular enough to be on a list of classical monsters, but he is definitely an interesting monster.
Who is Pumpkinhead?
Pumpkinhead is I think there's 3 Pumpkinhead movies, and they all came out in like the early 90s. The first one came in '89, I think. Anyway, it's like it's supposed to be like this folklore kind of thing out in like the desert of America, I think. Um, where you can invoke the spirit of the Pumpkinhead to exact vengeance upon your enemies, but it will take something from you. It's a typical be careful what you wish for story. Like
Okay, yeah.
if you're planning on what is it? If you're planning on revenge, dig 2 graves kind of thing.
Yeah.
The first one it's a surprisingly good movie, but it never became popular enough to become a classical movie monster.
Um,
Deemster, 500 pounds on screen. No, not 500 pounds. I'm not quite there yet. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching, though. Uh, um, and then Jude also mentioned Chucky. Chucky, he's fun, but I have a hard time calling him a monster, especially after the first movie. He's more of a punching bag. Those movies are basically comedies after the first one. They're fun. They're entertaining, but yeah.
But again, like you have a certain like you have the villains of certain things.
Yes, the
I don't know if I call
classical
them
villain.
monsters. Monsters are, like we said, the vampires, the werewolves, the
Yeah,
witches, I guess,
and
and
they're
and zombies.
yeah, and they're also like they also stem from like folklore and
Yeah.
like history, like vampires. Like I talked about way back in 2016 when I talked about Vampire's Kiss. Like vampires, it's not a new thing. I did some research and found like uh, people talking about vampires in like Babylonian scriptures.
Oh
Like
yeah.
they've been around for
We've
thousands and
always
thousands of
had
years.
bloodsuckers
Yeah,
in
yeah,
like every generation. I was about to say, what's it called? Every civilization.
yeah, and they're like outcasts, and
Yeah.
they prey upon people's fear and stuff, like vampires
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
And the same thing with mummies. I mean, mummies have they're literal mummies that are thousands of years old. They're not alive, unfortunately, or fortunately.
And they stem from ancient Egypt, so
Yeah, exactly. Once again, thousands of years old.
yeah.
Same thing with the werewolf. It's an old like medieval myth from Europe that people went crazy. Like, oh no, they're werewolves. They're not just crazy because they didn't know what crazy was, basically.
Yeah, lunatic.
Yeah, the only one that doesn't fit in that is Frankenstein because it was made up in the 1800s, I think, by Mary Shelley.
Yeah, something
Um,
like that.
but it's just such a classic story
I
that it's
actually
just
have
become.
that book.
It's actually become like the defining like classical monster, even though it's the youngest technically.
Uh,
Yeah. And then you have the zombie, which does have to get back to the zombies, which does have a history. Like we said, there are like zombies are a thing in voodoo magic and
yeah.
like African cultures, but they weren't really part of the zeitgeist until I guess like the 30s in the movie called White Zombie, but then they really became a thing with Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
We're back.
We're back. Did you know
Yes. No, I don't
that
know.
Night of the Living Dead was so horrible that it was actually like banned in certain places in America,
I didn't.
and
I didn't
it
know
is
that.
still banned in Germany.
I did know that it was banned in other countries, not in America. Okay.
I don't know if it's still banned in America, but it was banned in like Pittsburgh, I think, and
That's weird
somewhere else.
because the movie's like made in Illinois, around the area of
Yeah, I
Pittsburgh
think
and
that's
Chicago.
why, because
Oh,
they were like,
really?
"Oh my god, it's too local, too scary." But
Okay.
it's still banned in Germany, at least for Netflix.
Hmm.
Netflix cannot have it in Germany, which is weird.
I wonder
Because I
why.
mean, yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
because it's not really that violent. I mean, with
No,
today's standards, like, put this up against John Wick. Like,
yeah,
it's not
yeah.
even close. There is some blood. They eat people. You see them eat like flesh and guts and stuff. But I mean, it's
You
so
don't even
tame.
see him eat some of it. Like you don't see exactly what it is. Like they hold some sort of long rope thingy, and apparently
Yeah.
it's intestines. But I'm not sure I would like
I
literally.
think they actually bought like offal and intestines.
Sure, but you can't really see that it actually is
No,
that.
no, 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 no. You can't.
I'm
And
just looking it up.
you
Site
can't see
name.
the stuff they actually put in their mouths. I know one of the few you actually see them take a bite out of is like a raw liver that they just
Uh,
bought in the grocery store. So it's
in one
obvious.
scene, you can see someone sort of. It looks like they're chewing on a hand, but you only see them like take the bite, and then you don't see more.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So
I'm looking at the article I found, and
yeah, does it say
it has
why
to
it's
do with
banned?
the German Commission for Youth Protection asked for it to be banned from
But
Netflix.
still,
Yeah, they had like what was it, 9 movies, I think.
well, we to say what the other ones are.
No, it doesn't, and it doesn't specify which version of the film is
Banned.
banned,
It's prob
but
feels like it's a
actually, I found a few there. Other
oh,
films taken down include Full Metal Jacket, but that was in Vietnam, for example, and
okay, I can see that.
an episode of Patriot Act with Hassan Minhaj in Saudi Arabia,
Which
and
one?
like sing the Patriot Act with Hassan Minhaj.
Minaj.
Minaj, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's a Netflix show. It's
Oh,
like a stand-up slash talk show.
yeah, that was
I didn't
banned
watch
in
it.
Saudi Arabia
Okay.
apparently, and in Singapore, they asked for like The Last Temptation of Christ, Cooking on High, The Legend of 420, Disjointed, and The Last Hangover to be removed. So I guess
There's some weird
uh,
ones, yeah.
there's some weird ones,
But I
but
mean,
this one seems extra weird for some reason because it is so old.
it's yeah,
In today's
it's
standards, it's not scary.
no, it's not scary. I mean, I don't want to say that it's not scary. I think the implications of what it's about it's scary, but it's not like it's not
No,
on a gut level. It's not scary. It's not
no.
like jump
I
scare
mean, sure,
scary.
if it's the first horror movie you see, yeah, you're gonna be a bit freaked out. Cause,
Yes,
but if you've seen anything else, you kind of desensitized
yeah,
towards
especially
this
some of the other
simple
stuff that's
kind
on
of
Netflix. Like,
yeah.
come on. Um, but I can understand why it was banned when it was new because for its
Yeah,
time it's very violent, very very bloody.
yeah. Apparently, people were like freaked out and crying in the theater, and I won't blame them.
No, because I mean people hadn't
It
really
is
seen
scary
stuff like that
to
before.
yeah to
Yeah,
see someone all of a sudden chew on humans, on other
yeah,
humans.
people being burned alive or yeah
Yeah,
eaten or yeah, and just the whole concept. That's probably the scariest aspect of it now, the actual concept and the implications of what happens,
yeah.
like being stuck in that house, not knowing how to get out of there.
Not knowing if you can get out of there ever,
Yeah,
or how to even get rid of the monster that's
uh,
chasing you.
yeah, and
I
then
mean, yeah, they know you should shoot it in the head, but there's always gonna be one more.
yeah, what do you do when you run out of bullets?
Yeah. And they mentioned in the movie like however you die, you will become a zombie.
Yeah,
I have there's one loophole, not loophole, what's the word? Plot hole in that.
yeah,
You know that I think it's a woman they find upstairs.
yeah.
What happened? What? Who? Hey, she didn't come back to life as far as I know.
I'm not sure about that one. Like there's no actual rules for the zombies, so I think they just put her there to because she looks scared with her face torn off.
Like they mention in the radio and TV's things that anyone, no matter how you die, will come back to life,
Yeah.
and you actually see people coming. Well, you don't see him coming out of the grave, but like they implicate it with the guy in the cemetery. He
Yes.
probably came out of a grave, like
Oh yeah, he did. He did. Yeah.
yeah. So that one, that one they found upstairs, she should have come back to life as well, but she
Yeah.
never does.
Yeah. Well,
Unless, no wait, her head is damaged.
so yeah, it could
Maybe
be
that's enough.
that because they
Yeah.
say they're gonna sever the brain or the brain stem from
Damage
the
the
rest of the
brain.
body. Yeah,
Yeah.
damage the brain. That's actually we're not gonna talk too much about that, but in the remake, the official remake they made in 1990, they actually mention the Ben character in that movie mentions that he saw a woman walking even though her neck was broken, like her head was like twisted a full 360, and like that wouldn't work because then the brainstem has been severed from the rest of the body. So there are irregularities. Like there's always
I
going
mean,
to be
yeah.
irregularities. Um, and it is just, I mean, that's the kind of like nitpicky stuff that I don't really care about. It doesn't really ruin the internal logic of the movie for me
No,
because
it was just
there are
something
so
I
few
reacted
exceptions.
to.
Oh
It's
sure,
like,
yeah, and I definitely reacted to it when I saw the remake. When he mentioned, I was like, if her head was twisted around, this she should be dead.
yeah. I was just thinking because they were so afraid of zombies getting into the house. Like, but you have one upstairs, don't you? But no, she never came back into play.
Yeah,
So I was like,
no,
okay, whatever then, I guess.
yeah.
And you
Um,
don't get to know why or how she's dead either. That's kind of weird.
no, we never really find out what happened to the owners of the house.
No, and that's kind of freaky.
Yeah, it's just an empty house. Yeah, and that adds to the scareness as well.
Yeah,
It's almost like a ghost, like a haunted house or something. There's a
it
lot of
looks so alone in the fields. There's nothing around it. It's like
yeah,
weird.
and that's also something I really love with this version and dislike about most of the other versions. At least the one I've seen. I haven't seen all of the versions, but the fact that the movie is very timeless. I mean,
Yeah,
there's obvious things that tells us that what that is an older movie, like the TV, the fact that it's a black and white movie. But I mean, the way people act, um, the fact that they do get information from media, which we still do, just in different ways, makes it so that it's a movie that doesn't feel old, really. And also because for its time was very violent, it still kind of holds up on that front as well with the horror and the violence. And
and
I don't know if that was intentional, but it makes it so that the movie ages very well, I think.
yeah, definitely.
And also it also helps that they were unintentionally progressive with having
Yeah,
a black lead
yeah.
who slaps a white woman and then slaps a man and takes control of the
Yeah.
situation and is the
At
last man
first, when he
standing.
slaps Barbara, I was like,
Yeah,
but then I had to rewatch it because I missed that she slapped him. That was one of the moments I thought
yeah,
about.
yeah.
But then I rewatched. I was like, oh, she beat him. Go for it.
Because that's like a big like moment in Hollywood history when Sidney Poitier um he slaps a white man in a movie in the heat of the night. I don't know which year that was. 67. Ah, damn it. Because that was like a big thing. I think he was like Academy Award nominated for it or something. Because it was like the movie was taking a stance. I don't know what I haven't seen the movie. I just heard about that thing. So I don't exactly know what it's about, but it's like at least that scene, the movie takes a stand by showing that a black man can slap a white man. But I was gonna say that Night of the Living Dead did it before, but In the Heat of Night came
Yeah,
out 67. Damn it!
technically no.
Technically no, but it was in the
But
same
he
era.
slaps the white woman in this one.
Yes, yes.
No, he actually punches her. He
Yeah,
knocks her out, basically.
yeah. I mean, it looks like he. Now we're
Because
going to
she
talk
ends up
about the
with the
minutia of slapping. It looks like he has an open palm, but the sound is more like a thud.
yeah, and she
And
ends
she
up
has
having
like a
like a
big,
bruise,
yeah, big bruise.
and she is knocked out.
Yeah. Well,
Because after that, he
she's
puts her down
gonna.
on the couch, and she's like out of it for a while.
She
That's when he
is.
boards up all the That's when he boards up all the windows and the doors in PE. That's like the only time jump you have because all of a sudden he's like done.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
had no problem, wasn't disturbed by her or anything. Because other than that, the movie seems to go in more or less real time.
I think
More
so.
or less.
Yeah. Yeah. When
Obviously, by the end, he kind of falls asleep in the basement. But apart
yeah.
from that, more or less,
Yeah,
you could see.
we know the movie starts at about 8 because she mentions
Yeah,
that when they arrive at the cemetery, and it ends when he gets shot in the I guess the morning of the day after. So it takes place during a night
yeah.
with some time jumps obviously because the movie's only like an hour and a half.
Well, yeah.
Um, well, yeah, that's also a nice detail that they don't like skip stuff. We get to see everything that happens, like like I said before, all the minutia, because it's about the situation and how people handle it. But speaking of speaking of Barbara and her behavior, um, before I saw it this time, Barbara was not a character I particularly liked. I
No.
thought she was like inconsequential and she was just there to be like hysterical.
For me,
And
she kind of filled out that typical um female, what's it called, damsel in distress
sort of,
kind of
yeah, damsel in distress. Yeah,
role.
she's
I
there
didn't
to
like
like
that.
faint and be saved.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, sure, that actually happens. I mean,
sometimes women
been
needs
in
to be
one
saved.
situation where I definitely froze and did not know what to do. It wasn't a situation that was threatening to me in specific, but when something happened that made us having to react, and I just couldn't react.
Yeah.
You remember that on the train? We
Oh
were
right, we
on
were
the way
going to
to
the festival.
Settletown, yeah.
Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah. So I
Quickly,
definitely
a
probably would
man
do that.
a man was having
Seizure of some sort.
epileptic seizure, which
Yeah.
we found out afterwards was nothing he was like had done before. So,
Yeah.
and it looked like he was like when he stopped twitching, he literally
He
turned
dead.
gray, like ash gray in his face.
I couldn't
So
look away and I couldn't move, and we were standing right next to the emergency brake, and I just
yeah,
couldn't react. You
so yeah,
eventually
when
did.
the
Thank
the
fuck.
train like because the train was just about to depart, and here looks like he's literally dying. Next to his like I don't know 8 or 9 year old son who
Yeah.
doesn't seem to understand what's going on.
No.
So and then you get chugga chugga. The train starts
Like,
moving right as he dies. I was like, nope. And I pulled that thing.
I mean,
Anyway,
someone else does it as well, but
yeah,
I,
several
I
people were pulling that brake. Anyway, back to the
so I'm
movie.
just saying, like, that is a legitimate reaction.
It happened. Of course, it happens.
Obviously. It
And
just bothered me that she was so almost catatonic
yeah, but
throughout the most part of the movie, or like all of the movie,
yeah,
to be honest.
but I actually appreciated it more this time. I think it started when I did some research last year during October, and then watching it now again, so close to the last time I watched it. I think she is almost like my favorite character now because her character has um the most development sort of because she starts off as the kind of she's sort of like ditzy I don't know typical broad as they would say back then.
Yeah. Baby
Um
sister always, as well.
yeah. And then that's why she's obviously so shook up by what happens. I mean, she literally gets like post traumatic stress disorder. She's in shock for most of the movie. But then just the scenes when she starts to open up, like when the shock seems to let go of her, and she actually talks to Ben about Johnny. And I just found those scenes like when she's like reliving it in her head, and misremembering certain details. I thought it was very very effective as in her acting. I mean, her in the zombie crisis isn't very effective, but I think her as a character
No.
is interesting that way. And how she
And it's a good thing to portray all kinds of reactions as well.
that too. Like she's the one who's in shock. Then you have the very methodical person, who's like almost like autistic. Like we have to do this and this and this, and that's Ben.
Yeah.
Then you have the paranoid person, who is of course Cooper, and then you have kind of the oh shucks, I don't know what to do. I'll just go along with whoever, and that's Tom and Judy.
Yeah.
And
And
then
you have Helen Cooper, who's like, yeah, this is probably not that bad, kind of.
yeah, she's she's the caring
She's
mother.
very relaxed.
Yeah. So I think she, and in that way I think she is very important because she is one of the um she's one of several depictions of how you would handle a situation like psychologically.
Yeah.
And I think she does a
I
very good job with what she has to do. But I
I
can
definitely don't mind her specific, like her the character that she is and what she is portraying.
yeah.
It just kind of bothers me that we still used a. This is an old movie, but like putting it into modern day, we still have it's mostly a female that is that hysterical going into shock person.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean, in that way it has aged. And that's
Yeah.
that's the biggest change with the 1990 version. Barbara starts out being like in shock, but then like halfway through the movie she's like, "Fuck this. I'm going to survive." She grabs a gun and starts killing zombies.
Okay, that's
And
cool.
spoilers, this is the spoiler
Oh.
cast. She's the one who survives and starts helping the local hillbillies killing off the rest of the zombies.
So in that one they have a final girl?
Yes, they have a final girl.
Because I was at the end of the movie, it's like, oh my god, they're gonna have a final girl who's a black dude.
Yeah, and
Cool.
then just there he is. Get him right between the eyes. Unfortunately,
Those cops are very good marksmen.
yeah, they shoot pretty
Most
well.
of them, because most of them just one shot in the head. Then you have a couple of clips where they're like peppering them with gunshots and just
Bullets.
half of it. Yeah, bullets. That was the word. I reacted to one of those. They shoot one zombie in the head. It looks like
Uh huh.
he turns around as he's being shot and grabs his
Oh
face.
yeah,
I'm
I
like,
know, I know. That's another
what?
thing I guess that dates it. Like people didn't know how to die on screen.
Yeah. I mean,
Like I
I guess
have to
that
die. Oh.
most of them don't react. Most of them just collapse. But I think this one had to kind of hide that he didn't get any wounds or anything, any blood. I
Yeah.
think that's the reason, but it just looks so stupid because zombies don't react to pain that way. They
No.
established that previously in the movie when they stab one and basically chop off every finger and it doesn't even care.
Yeah. No, they don't. They don't feel anything. That's something
No.
they definitely explore more what a zombie is in the later movies.
Yeah.
Well, we
I just
gather.
thought they could have cut that scene out when he covers his face.
Yeah. Um. No. Oh, damn it! I had something.
I
I was.
gotta say,
Yeah.
I gotta
Sorry.
ask, to be honest, was there a budgetary reason for them not having that much um sound, I guess? Because a lot of the sound feels like it's post production.
It is. I'm pretty sure they didn't record much of the sound on stage. Definitely some of the dialogue is recorded on stage.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are large chunks where it just feels like the sound cuts out, and it's
Yeah, and it's
especially noticeable when they don't have music in the scene.
mhm.
And the scene when she enters the house and she's looking out the window and then she tries to make a phone call. That scene always sticks out in my head because it's so obvious that they have added sounds of her pushing the button and listening in the phone and all that because they don't have any other like ambience in the background.
Yeah.
And I just think it's a technical thing. Like
Yeah, maybe.
they didn't have like sound recording equipment, so they did it afterwards.
That was also I noticed that the effects were kind of bad, but that's because it's old, I guess. The punching sound is horrible.
Yeah, but that's an old thing, yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
know I know the makeup, especially on the earlier zombies, is literally like raccoon makeup on
Yeah.
one of the zombies, and that's because um the Coopers, Helen and is it Frank? What's his
I
name?
think Harry Cooper.
Harry Cooper.
Harry and Helen Cooper and their daughter Karen.
Yeah. Harry and Helen Cooper were actually married in real life, and were like local producers or something. I think they started the company Image 10 to kind of make this movie, because they are part of the producers of the movie. And I know that what was her name? Who played Helen Cooper?
Her name, the actor's name is Marilyn Eastman.
Marilyn Eastman, right? She took it upon herself to do the zombie makeup because they didn't have a makeup like person. And she had done some like stage makeup and makeup for people in commercials. So she's like, I'll just make him look, pale. So you can
Yeah,
definitely see in the beginning. In the beginning, they just look like people, and sometimes they have like black circles around their eyes. But then later, like the scenes where they're eating people, you can definitely see there are some like effects put on them that sort of like looks like wounds and something. So
yeah, and you see some at the end. You see a very easily made gunshot wound
yeah,
on Ben's forehead.
yeah, exactly. But that's also something that not necessarily budgetary. It was just that they didn't have anyone on set to do makeup except for her.
Yeah.
Um. So yeah, that's a
I'm giving it a pass because it is an old movie. It's just something that me as a younger person who's used to modern horror just reacted to like shit. The sound is awful because I didn't mind any of like the camera work. I didn't mind any of this like sets. Everything that looked it would have been fine even now, I guess. I mean, quality of the camera is obviously
yeah,
worse than
yeah.
what we have now, but that's not as disturbing as the sound effects.
No, and that proves how important sound is to a movie.
Definitely.
There's that scene. I don't know if you've seen it on YouTube where they cut out the music from the ending of ET, and it's the most boring scene ever.
Yeah, I think.
Then you watch it with music, and you're like, "Oh no, he's gonna go home."
Yeah, I watched another YouTuber. She was talking about a completely different movie, but she mentioned in the beginning of her video, like if you think of the most impactful scene in your favorite movie, and then you think of it without the song or the music, would it change it? It's like yeah, it would.
Yeah,
Because
well,
it definitely does.
music and sound is like its own character in the movie. I know John
Yeah.
Williams, who made the music for ET, says that like it's a character next to the other characters.
Yeah,
Then it is kind of interesting that they didn't have a composer for this movie. I think like 99% of the music is stock music.
yeah.
They just
Kind
found
of tell that it's not specific because it's very basic, but it still has enough of the right tones to
yeah,
set the mood.
yeah. They definitely picked like the right songs
Yeah,
for the movie because it works. Like the intro and when she's being chased before she gets to the house,
yeah,
the music works. But yeah,
yeah. It does.
it's bare bones. But
But it
then
gets a pass again because it's an old movie. You didn't have much to go with back then, I guess. Specifically because they, like we mentioned, it isn't a big production, not a
no,
huge release.
um, but then it also shows like that despite all its limitations, it had stood the test of time, and it's a movie people still talk about today.
Yeah,
And it spawned an entire genre.
yeah. Because I have to going back again to the ones I saw on YouTube. All three of the ones I watched properly were made between 2016 and 2020, actually.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
people still do videos about it, talking about it as if it's a new movie, I guess.
yeah. And I mean, zombie movies like they got huge like in the early 2000s. You had Shaun of the Dead and the
Yeah.
remake of Dawn of the Dead and all that. They it's kind of tapered off now, but it kind of comes and goes in waves. But I mean, if you look at zombie movies today, they're still influenced, like heavily influenced by Night of the Living Dead. I mean, look
Yeah.
at one of the most successful zombie franchises of all time, The Walking Dead. It's literally just a long version of Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
Where
They
where
even mimic the name.
yeah, exactly. And you have because it's the same concept, and that's the big thing with zombie movies or with Night of the Living Dead, that the zombies aren't really the bad guys. The zombies are just a symptom
Yeah.
of our carelessness, and the real villains are us. That's why most of the people who die in the movie are actually like, not most of them, but they're they're killed by their own ignorance. I mean, Cooper gets shot. Helen gets killed by her. I mean, technically, Cooper does get eaten by his daughter, but he gets shot first. Helen also, because she can't let go of her daughter, she gets killed. Same thing with Tom and Judy. They're too
Reckless.
too reckless, so they kill themselves basically because they don't see they're not careful enough with the zombies.
I mean, at least they kill themselves in the right way because they can't come back.
That's true. They burn themselves.
Yeah.
And then Barbara, who becomes like terrified when she sees Johnny and just lets him take her basically.
Johnny as well for mocking the dead. Of course he's gonna.
Yeah, of course he's gonna die. I mean, he literally says it in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
When he talks about scaring Barbara as a little kid, and their grandpa says, "Boy, you'll be damned to hell." So yeah.
And they're coming to get you, Barbara.
Yeah. So ultimately, it's not like this, and that's also something to explore more in the later movies, and definitely more in other zombie movies. Like the zombies are not the bad guys.
No, they're just a problem.
Yeah, it's kind of like Godzilla in the original. Like we created Godzilla. He is our punishment, and the zombies are kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
They're not like literal punishment here, but it is like a symbol of our carelessness.
Yeah.
And it was there from the very first Living Dead movie. It was all there, all the building blocks of the genre of every other zombie movie. It was already there, and that's why it is like such a immortal classic, at least in my opinion, and I think in many others' opinions.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's the father of the zombies.
Indeed. I think we're gonna wrap it up there.
Yeah.
Thank you all for watching or for listening. We'll be back next week talking about Dawn of the Dead. But that's next Thursday. But if you are a Patreon or a patron, a Patreon subscriber, we will be doing an extra Patreon exclusive episode. We're gonna record it this Sunday probably, where we talk more about zombie movies in general and talk more in going about the other versions of Night of the Living Dead, because there are some stinkers that's gonna be fun to talk about.
Yeah.
So definitely, if you like this, be sure to hit the subscribe button here on YouTube. Hit the 5-star on iTunes, and the follow and little heart thing on Spotify and all that stuff. So you're notified when we do new stuff. And then check out Patreon to see how you can further help us to pay for all the stuff that it costs to do this.
And get exclusive content.
And of course, get exclusive content, exclusive podcasts, exclusive videos, stuff like that. Have a say in what we do here on the podcast as well. But that's gonna have to be it. Enough with the plugging. Once again, thank you for watching. And we'll see you in the next one. But until then, have a good one.
Bye.
Bye-bye.